How many nights have you lain down in the dark, only to find your mind refusing to rest, still circling back to what you've lost, the words left unsaid, the hardships that seem to have no way out? Nearly 2,000 years ago, the emperor of the mightiest empire on earth lay awake just like this. Amid war, plague, and betrayal, Marcus Aurelius quietly wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In the hour ahead, you will not merely listen to fall asleep. You will learn how to set things down, to set down what does not belong to you, to release what you cannot change, and gently take hold of the one thing always within your reach, how you respond to life." Let this voice guide you through 12 ancient lessons from the Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, men who lived through exile, loss, and death, and yet kept their composure as still as the surface of a calm lake. You don't need to memorize anything. You don't need to try. Just slow your breath and listen. And perhaps tonight, while the storms outside still rage, you will find a place of peace right here within yourself. Let us begin our journey with the most fundamental lesson of all, the first stone upon which the entire temple of Stoicism is built: the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. Epictetus, once a slave, living his whole life with a crippled leg, opened his handbook with a sentence powerful enough to change the course of a life. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are our thoughts, our judgments, our will, the way we act. Beyond our reach are this body that will age, the reputation others assign to us, our possessions, the weather, and the words and deeds of those around us. It sounds simple, but pause for a moment and ask yourself, where does most of the anxiety keeping you awake tonight come from? Almost all of it comes from trying to hold on to things that were never ours to begin with. We want others to understand us. We want outcomes to match our hopes. We want the past to have been different. We want the future to be certain. And every time reality refuses to obey, we suffer. The Stoics do not teach us to become cold or to give up. They teach us something far more subtle. Pour all of your energy into the place where it actually has power. You cannot control the storm, but you can control how you set your sails. You cannot control whether you are laid off, but you can control your attitude, your effort, and your next step. When adversity strikes, the unprepared ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The Stoic asks, "Which part of this is within my hands, and how shall I respond to it?" There is a deep relief hidden in this lesson, for once you stop carrying the burden of steering the entire universe, you suddenly realize how small your true load is. You are only responsible for this moment, this response, this breath. Everything else, let it pass like clouds across the sky, arriving and departing, while the sky itself remains untouched. Tonight, when a worry rises again, try asking softly, "Is this within my hands?" If it is, tomorrow you will act. If it is not, allow yourself to set it down. For there is a peace that comes only when we stop fighting the things that cannot be changed. And from this foundation, the line between what we can and cannot control, we move to a deeper question. If outside events are not in our hands, then what is it that truly causes our suffering? There is a truth the Stoics saw clearly 2,000 years ago, one that modern psychology has only recently begun to confirm. It is not the things that happen to us that wound us, but the way we interpret them. Once again, Epictetus speaks to us with cool clarity. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. The same event, a word of criticism, a failure, a departure, can crush one person and temper another. The difference does not lie in the event. It lies in the inner mirror through which we view it. Imagine two people who lose their jobs on the same day. The first sees it as the end, as proof of their worthlessness, and sinks into despair. The second sees it as one door closing so that another might open, an invitation to begin again. The event is identical, yet the fate of these two souls diverges in opposite directions. What separates them is not the circumstance, but the judgment they place upon it. This is where true human freedom resides. Between stimulus and response, there is always a pause. In that pause lies the power to choose how we respond. The Stoics trained themselves to widen that pause, so that between an insult and their anger, there is enough room for a question. Is this really worth losing my peace over? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, remove the judgment, and you have removed the thought, I am hurt. Remove the thought, I am hurt, and the hurt itself is removed. Do not misunderstand. This is not a call to deny emotion or pretend that everything is fine. Sorrow is real, loss is real. But the Stoics invite us to separate two layers. The layer of the bare event, what actually happened, and the layer of the story we add on top of it. Most of our suffering is born not from the event, but from the story. This shouldn't have happened. I don't deserve this. Things will never get better. When we learn to see the bare event as it truly is, without embellishment, without dramatization, we reclaim a quiet but immense power. So tonight, if a painful memory returns, try gently splitting it in two. This is what happened, and this is the story I am telling about it. You cannot change the first, but the second is always in your hands, and simply realizing this is enough to loosen your shoulders, slow your breath, and let the mind begin to settle. But if our judgment holds such power, can we prepare our minds in advance so that when adversity truly arrives, it does not sweep us away? That is precisely what the Stoics named in the practice that follows. If most of our suffering is born from how we judge things, then there is a way to prepare the mind beforehand, so that when adversity knocks, it can no longer knock us down. The Stoics called this practice by an ancient name, Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of misfortunes. At first glance, it sounds like a recipe for anxiety. Aren't we always advised to think positively, to picture good things? But the Stoics saw further. They understood that what makes adversity so devastating is not the adversity itself, but its suddenness, the shock of believing that life owes us a smooth path. Seneca wrote, he robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. So each morning the Stoic quietly reminds himself, today I may meet the ungrateful, the deceitful, the arrogant. I may lose what I hold dear. Everything I now possess, health, loved ones, work, reputation, is borrowed, not owned. Not to sow fear, but so that when loss truly comes, the heart is already prepared. We will not cry out, so why is this happening to me, but nod softly to, yes, I knew a day like this could come. There is a tender paradox in this practice. When we dare to imagine loss, we suddenly cherish what we have all the more. A father who holds his child while quietly knowing that nothing lasts forever holds his child more deeply. One who knows that an evening with a loved one is precious because it is finite is more fully present. Imagining the darkness does not extinguish the light. It makes the light shine brighter. Seneca left us a line that touches the very heart of modern worry. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most of what we fear through sleepless nights will never come to pass, and the things that do arrive, we usually endure more bravely than we imagined. Premeditatio Malorum is therefore not the exaggeration of fear, but the act of looking it square in the face in the light of day, and realizing it is smaller than the shadow it casts on the wall at midnight. Tonight, instead of letting your imagination paint terrifying scenarios and abandoning you to tremble within them, try following one worry all the way to the end. If the worst happens, then what? What would I do? What would I lean on? You will often discover that even at the deepest bottom, there is still solid ground to stand on. And once you know that you can stand firm, no matter what comes, fear itself will loosen the hand it has wrapped around your chest. But the Stoics did not stop at preparing for adversity. They went one bold step further. They learned to turn adversity itself into the raw material of growth, to make the obstacle the way. Imagine a flowing stream that meets a great rock blocking its path. It does not stop to complain. It does not turn back in defeat. It quietly finds a way, slipping around, flowing over, or patiently rising until it passes. The rock that seemed to be an obstacle merely reshapes the current. This is a vivid image for one of the most powerful ideas in all of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, amid years of rule filled with wind and plague, wrote for himself the line that would later become a guiding principle for countless generations. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is a remarkable reversal of perspective. To the ordinary person, adversity is something that gets in the way of the life they want, an irritating interruption to be overcome so that real life can resume. But the Stoic sees the opposite. Adversity is not what gets in the way of life. Adversity is life. It is the training ground where virtue is forged. Courage needs fear to reveal itself. Patience needs delay. Compassion needs wounds. If everything went smoothly, we would never become anyone at all. Consider this. Every quality you admire in a person, composure, compassion, willpower, wisdom, not one of them was born in comfort. All were tempered in fire. The blacksmith does not curse the flame. He needs it to shape the iron. In the same way, your adversity is not a punishment cast down upon your life. It is the raw material from which you forge the person you wish to become. This does not mean we must pretend that suffering is pleasant or that loss does not hurt. The Stoics were not dreamers. They simply asked a different question. Faced with adversity, instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" they ask, "What does this call forth in me? Which virtue is waiting to be awakened right now?" Betrayal is a chance to practice forgiveness. Loss is a chance to learn letting go. Being looked down upon is a chance to cultivate humility without losing self-worth. Every stone thrown at you can become a brick with which to build yourself. Tonight, think of an adversity weighing on your heart. And instead of asking how to escape it, try asking, what is it teaching me? If I look back on this one day, how would I want to have responded? You may not have the answer tonight, but simply by asking the question, you shift from being a victim of circumstance to becoming the blacksmith of your own fate. And once we have learned to use adversity rather than fight it, a deeper question emerges. Can we go so far as not merely to accept our fate, but to love it? There is a level of peace higher than acceptance. Acceptance is to stop resisting what cannot be changed. But the Stoics point us to a peak farther still, where we not only cease to fight fate, but embrace it with our whole heart. Later generations name this state with two beautiful Latin words, Amor, Fati, love of fate. Epictetus expressed this with sharp simplicity. Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. This is a radical invitation. For so long, we live in an endless tug-of-war between reality and our own desires. We want the rain to stop, the person to stay, the body not to fall ill. And each time reality disobeys, we taste another sip of suffering. Amor Fati ends that war, not by winning it, but by laying down our weapons. Marcus Aurelius used an image to describe a soul that has reached this state: fire. He wrote that a strong fire devours everything thrown into it, even the things that seem they would smother it, and turns it all into light and warmth. The wise soul is the same. It does not pick and choose its fuel. Joy or sorrow, gain or loss, praise or blame, all of it is received and transformed into growth. Nothing can put it out because it no longer refuses anything that life brings. Please understand this rightly. Amor Fati is not passive resignation, nor an excuse to let everything slide. The Stoics still act with all their strength to change what is within their reach. But once a matter is settled, once what has happened cannot be undone, they do not waste a single drop of energy wishing it were otherwise. They return to the present, the only place life truly happens, and say yes to what is. They sow and tend diligently, but when the harvest comes, they receive both sun and storm with the same serene heart. Feel the relief in this. How many nights have we lost to a single if only? If only I had done it differently. If only that had not happened. But if only is a door into a room that never existed. Amor Fati gently closes that door and turns you toward the room that is real. Your life exactly as it is, with all its cracks and all its beauty. And strangely, it is precisely in that full embrace that we find a strength and a joy that resistance never grants. Tonight, is there something in your life you are still quietly refusing? A loss not yet mourned, a reality you would rather not face? Try, just for this moment, to whisper a soft yes to it. Not because you like it, but because it is already a part of your life. And in that gentle yes, perhaps you will hear what generations of Stoics have heard, the sigh of a soul that has finally come home. But to truly love our fate, we must look squarely at the greatest truth that all fates lead to, the truth the Stoics contemplated every day. Not to be afraid, but to live more fully. In the chambers of victorious Roman generals returning home, it is said there stood a slave behind them, whispering in their ear amid the roar of the crowd, "Remember that you are only mortal." It was one of the strangest and most profound rituals of the ancients, and it touches the heart of a Stoic lesson we so often avoid today. Memento Mori, remember that you will die. It sounds grim, but to the Stoics, this was no pessimistic reminder. It was the most powerful wake-up call to truly live. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." When we truly absorb that our time is finite, and that no one knows when that limit will come, the trivial things that once troubled us simply dissolve. A stranger's criticism, a small inconvenience, a petty wound to our pride, all shrink to their true size before the vastness of death. Impermanence is not the enemy of peace, it is the very foundation of peace. Everything around us is flowing. This breath gives way to the next. This season yields to the one after. Every face we love is quietly changing day by day. Seneca reminds us that we do not suddenly die in a single moment. We are dying a little each day, for each day that passes is a portion of life already belonging to the past. Yet rather than frighten us, this awareness invites us to hold the present more closely. If all things are fleeting, then anger, resentment, and the postponement of love are all extravagant wastes we cannot afford. Think of this gently, without fear. It is precisely because the flower will wither that we pause to admire it. It is precisely because the afternoon will fade that the sunset becomes achingly beautiful. It is precisely because those we love will not be with us forever that each moment beside them becomes a treasure. Death does not strip life of its meaning. It bestows that meaning. Something eternal and endless would hold no value. It is finitude that makes each moment sacred. So tonight, as you lie here in stillness, try to feel this not as a worry, but as a release. So much of what you carry heavy in your heart will mean nothing at all when seen from the end of a human life. You are allowed to set it down. You are allowed to forgive others and yourself. You are allowed to live more lightly. For if tomorrow is something no one is promised, then tonight's peace is a gift you deserve to give yourself. And once we have stood before the vast truth of death, we are naturally lifted to a new perspective, what the Stoics called the view from above. When a worry grips the mind, it has a familiar trick. It magnifies itself until it fills our entire field of vision. A small conflict becomes the whole sky. A passing failure becomes our whole identity. The Stoics had a mental practice to dissolve that illusion. They called it the view from above. Marcus Aurelius often led himself to rise. He imagined looking down from a great height, seeing cities, armies, weddings and funerals, bustling marketplaces, islands and continents, all of human life spread out like a small tapestry below. Then he wrote, "Think of the whole of existence, of which you are a tiny part, and of the whole of time, in which you have been assigned a brief and fleeting moment." At first, this might seem to render us so small as to be meaningless, but strangely, its effect is liberation. When we view our life from the height of the stars, the weight on our shoulders does not vanish, but it is restored to its true proportion. The quarrel that keeps us awake, the worry over what others think, the obsession with a mistake, under the light of the boundless universe and endless time, they appear as what they truly are. Small ripples that will soon dissolve upon a vast and open sea. This is not an invitation to belittle our life or grow indifferent. On the contrary, the view from above helps us distinguish what truly matters from mere noise. From a distance, we no longer see the petty details that irritate us. We see only the great outlines: love, kindness, how we treat others, the person we are becoming. The small fades, the large grows clear. And that is wisdom, knowing to give our heart to what is worthy. There is another deep comfort in this practice. When we realize that countless people lived before us, who also loved, also feared, also lost, also lay awake at night as we do now, we cease to feel alone in our pain. Our suffering is not unique, not some special injustice cast upon us alone. It is part of the human experience, repeated again and again across thousands of years. And those people endured. They found peace. So can we. Tonight, if a worry is swelling to fill your mind, try gently to rise. Picture this room, this house, this city, this country, this small blue planet hanging in endless space. And from that height, look back at your worry. It is still there, but now it fits in the palm of your hand, rather than filling the whole sky. And in that gentle distance, your breath will naturally slow. But if almost everything is small before the universe, then what is truly great? What is truly worth holding on to? The Stoics have a clear and uncompromising answer. Having shrunk every worry before the vastness of time and the universe, one core question remains. If wealth, fame, pleasure, and even long life are all fleeting and beyond our full control, then what is truly worth devoting our whole life to? The Stoics answer with a bold declaration. There is only one true good, and that is virtue. To the Stoics, virtue is not rigid solemnity. It is wrapped in four foundational qualities. The wisdom to see clearly what is right, the courage to do what is right even when it is hard, the justice to treat others with fairness and love, and the temperance to master one's own desires. Everything else that people chase, money, status, admiration, the Stoics call indifference, not evil to be enjoyed if they come, but not the place to rest our happiness, for all of them can be taken away. Only your character, how you choose to live, how you choose to act, can never be seized. This is the secret behind the extraordinary composure of the Stoic philosophers in the face of adversity. Epictetus could be chained, exiled, but no one could force him to betray his dignity. Marcus Aurelius could lose his children, lose his friends, face betrayal and plague, yet no adversity could compel him to become bitter or unjust unless he allowed it. He reminded himself of a rule simple to its very core. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The entire moral compass of a human life, contained in two clauses. Feel the steadiness this idea brings. If your happiness depends on outer things, on whether you get the promotion, whether people like you, whether everything goes smoothly, then your peace is as fragile as a leaf in the wind, forever in the hands of others and of chance. But if you place the value of your life in virtue, in becoming a kind, courageous, just, and temperate person, then no adversity can touch your core. People may take everything you have, but they cannot take the person you choose to be in how you respond. And here is the most beautiful part. Virtue is always within your reach, right now, no matter the circumstance. You need not wait for favorable conditions to be kind. You need not succeed first before living justly. Even in the worst adversity, perhaps especially in the worst adversity, you can still choose composure over panic, compassion over bitterness, integrity over deceit. Every difficult moment is an invitation to express the very best in you. Tonight, instead of measuring this day by what you gained or lost, try measuring it by a different question. Today, did I live as a good person? Was I kind? Was I honest with myself? If the answer is yes, then no matter how stormy the day was, you can close your eyes in peace, for you have kept the only thing that truly belongs to you. But living with virtue does not mean denying your emotions. So what do the Stoics do with the anger, the sorrow, the fear that still rise within them as in every human being? That is what we will explore next. There is a common misunderstanding about the Stoics, that they were cold, unfeeling people who clenched down every emotion until the heart turned to stone. But that is a misreading. The Stoics did not teach us to kill our emotions. They taught us not to let our emotions hold the reins. It is a subtle difference that changes everything. Seneca, who wrote an entire treatise on anger, acknowledged that the first stirrings of emotion are natural and unavoidable. When insulted, a heat rises. When bereaved, tears flow. When danger nears, the heart races. The Stoics called these the first movements. They come before reason, and we are not at fault for them. The problem lies not in the emotion arising, but in what we do next. Do we let the spark of anger blaze into a fire that burns down a relationship? Do we let a passing fear become an obsession that imprisons us for years? Between the first movement and the final response, there is always a pause, and in that pause lies the whole of human freedom. So the Stoics do not suppress emotion, they observe it. They name it. Ah, here is anger rising. Here is fear knocking. Merely naming the emotion creates a gentle distance between us and it. We are no longer the anger. We are the one watching the anger. And from that vantage point, we can choose. Seneca offered a simple yet profound remedy for anger. Amor. Delay. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Give the wave time to settle before we act. For there is almost no decision made in anger that we do not regret once calm returns. This does not mean we deny our pain. When we lose someone we love, the Stoic still weeps. But he does not let the grief turn into bitterness toward all of life. He allows emotion to flow through like a river instead of building a dam to hold it back until it bursts in destruction. Suppressing emotion is not strength, it is merely postponing the explosion. True strength is daring to feel fully, to understand what we feel, and then gently deciding how to respond with reason and dignity. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that calm is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of an inner steadiness greater than emotion. The nearer we come to a settled mind, the nearer we come to true strength. For the one swept away by emotion is always the weaker, controlled by any word, any event. But the one who has mastered his response is like a deep lake. Wind may ripple the surface, but the depths remain forever still. Tonight, if a heavy emotion rises, a sorrow, an unsettled anger, a lingering worry, try neither to chase it away nor to let it drown you. Simply observe it quietly. I am feeling this. It is real and it is allowed to exist, but it is not the whole of who I am, and it too shall pass. Like a cloud drifting across the sky, let the emotion come and go, while you, the sky, remain whole and at peace. And once we have learned to live in harmony with our own inner world, the Stoics invite us to extend that harmony to the whole of life, to live in accordance with nature. When asked what the purpose of human life is, the first Stoics answered with a phrase both simple and profound, to live in accordance with nature. Zeno of Citium, the founder of the school, taught that the good life is one lived in agreement with nature. But what does that mean? Surely not abandoning the city to live among the trees. It carries a far deeper meaning. To live in accordance with nature, first of all, is to accept the laws of reality rather than fight them. Nature moves in cycles, day and night, birth and death, gain and loss, spring budding, then winter shedding its leaves. The person who suffers is the one secretly demanding that these laws make an exception for him alone. That he need not grow old, need not part with others, need not face uncertainty. The Stoic, by contrast, bows before the great order of things. He does not see loss as an injustice aimed at his life alone, but as an inevitable part of the current that every living being passes through. In that acceptance lies a deep peace, the peace of one who has stopped demanding that the world be otherwise. But nature, to the Stoic, has another layer of meaning, living true to the deepest nature of being human. They believe that what distinguishes humans from all other creatures is the capacity for reason and our social nature. We are born to think clearly and to live for one another. Thus, to live in accordance with nature means to let reason guide our life rather than be dragged by instinct and impulse, and to recognize that we are not isolated islands, but limbs of one and the same body of humanity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. When we act for the common good, for kindness and connection, we are living true to our deepest design, and a quiet fulfillment finds us. Consider the relief in this way of seeing. Much of modern anxiety comes from fighting against the very current of our own lives, resisting age, resisting change, resisting the limits of the human condition. We are like someone swimming upstream, exhausted yet going nowhere. To live in accordance with nature is to learn to swim with the current, not drifting aimlessly, but using the water itself to move forward. We still row, still steer, but we no longer waste our strength fighting a current we were meant to ride. This also invites us back to simplicity. Nature needs little to be content. A tree does not demand to be taller than the whole forest in order to be at peace. Seneca reminds us that the poor man is not the one who has too little, but the one who craves more. When we learn to be content with what is enough food, enough warmth, enough genuine relationships, we free ourselves from the endless chase that exhausts so many souls. Peace lies not in having more, but in needing less. Tonight, try setting down one demand you are quietly placing on life, that it be faster, fuller, more perfect. Try telling yourself, I will do my part and leave the rest to the great current of all things. In that gentle acceptance, you may find a sleep that comes as naturally as night follows day. But living in accordance with nature and accepting the current does not mean sitting still. The Stoics drew a sharp line between calm and passivity, and that is the next lesson. There is a secret fear that makes many hesitate before Stoic philosophy. They worry that learning to accept and let go will turn them into someone indifferent, resigned, sitting idle while life drifts by. But this is one of the deepest misunderstandings. The Stoics were anything but passive. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor governing an empire amid war. Seneca was a statesman, an active writer. They were people of intense action, but they acted from a place of peace, not from panic. The secret lies in how they separated effort from outcome. The Stoic pours his whole heart and mind into doing the best he can with what is within his reach. That is what he controls. But the final result, which depends on countless factors beyond his grasp, he serenely accepts however it turns out. He draws the bow with full focus and skill, but once the arrow leaves the string, he no longer frets over whether it hits the mark, for the wind and the unexpected are no longer his. It is precisely this separation that allows him to give his all and yet not be crushed by the result. He burns brightly without burning out. Marcus Aurelius left a beautiful image for this state. Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest. This is no image of escape or retreat. The headland is still there, still taking every wave. But it is not swept away. It stands amid the storm with a steadiness that makes the storm itself fall quiet. That is calm in action, present in the midst of a turbulent life, facing every trial while the inner self remains unmoved. This calm does not weaken us. It makes us many times stronger. The one who acts in panic often makes poor, hasty decisions, led by emotion. The one who acts from steadiness sees more clearly, chooses more wisely, perseveres more durably. Think of a captain in a storm. It is his composure, not his panic, that saves the whole ship. Inner peace is not a luxury we enjoy when all is well. It is the most powerful tool we have for facing the moments when everything is in chaos. And there is a further beauty. When we act from calm rather than from fear, we are no longer driven by greed or anxiety, but by what is right. We do good not to be praised, but because it is the right thing to do. We give not to be repaid, but because that is the nature of a noble soul. Action then becomes pure, light, and enduring, for it no longer depends on whether the world rewards us. Tonight, if tomorrow awaits you with difficult tasks, try planting this reminder in your heart. I will do my utmost with all my devotion, and then serenely accept the result. Be the headland, let the waves break, you will stand firm, and when you release your obsession with the outcome, you also release most of the weight that presses on your chest each night. All these lessons would be only beautiful ideas if they remained on the page. What makes a person a Stoic is not knowing, but living. And that is the final thing we contemplate together. After all these profound lessons, the Stoics leave us a humble reminder. Philosophy is not to be discussed, but to be lived. Epictetus told his students plainly, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. A person may memorize every line of Marcus Aurelius and still erupt in anger over something trivial. Another may never have read a single page of Stoicism yet live calmly, kindly, and courageously each day. The second is the true philosopher. For wisdom lies not in what we know, but in what we become. So how did the Stoics practice? They turned philosophy into small habits, repeated each day. In the morning, before stepping into the stream of life, they take a moment to prepare the mind. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself upon waking, today I may meet difficult people, but I will not let them rob me of my peace. Today I will try to live with kindness, justice, and courage. That is how they raise a shield before adversity has a chance to strike. In the evening, they do the reverse. They look back. Seneca recounted that each night he asked himself 3 questions. What fault did I cure today? What vice did I resist? In what way did I become better? This is no harsh self-torment, but a gentle and honest conversation with oneself. When we review the day that has passed with honesty and without cruel judgment, we learn from our own life, and each day becomes a teacher. It was precisely this habit of writing down such reflections that gave birth to the immortal meditations of Marcus Aurelius, which were never written for anyone to read, but were only notes he wrote to himself. Between these two ends of the day lie countless small moments to practice. Stuck in traffic, there is a lesson in patience. Criticized unfairly, a lesson in composure. Craving something too much, a lesson in temperance. The Stoics did not wait for grand trials to train. They treated every daily annoyance as a gymnasium for the soul. And gradually, through thousands of small repetitions, calm ceased to be something they had to strive for. It became their second nature. This is also why Stoic philosophy has endured for 2,000 years. It does not demand that we be perfect, only that we practice. No one becomes calm overnight, just as no one becomes strong after a single workout. There will be days we fail, we grow angry, we lose our composure. But the Stoic does not see this as the end. He sees it as part of the journey. Fall, then rise, correct yourself, and continue. It is precisely this gentle perseverance, day after day, that forges a steady soul. So tonight, as you prepare to drift into sleep, try the first exercise of a Stoic. Look back on this day with compassion. What good did you do? What might you do better tomorrow? Do not judge, only observe. Then gently set this day down, including the things left unfinished, and allow yourself to rest. For tomorrow is a new page, a new chance to practice the art of living in peace. And as these 12 lessons settle within your mind, let us close our journey for tonight together. So together we have walked through all 12 lessons of the Stoic philosophers. We have learned to distinguish what belongs to us from what does not. To understand that it is not events, but our judgments that cause our suffering. We have practiced rehearsing adversity so as not to be knocked down by surprise, and learned to turn the obstacle itself into the way. We have touched the love of fate, remembered death in order to live more fully, and lifted ourselves to the view from above, where every worry returns to its true size. We have seen that virtue is the only good no one can seize, that mastering emotion is not suppression, but understanding, that living in accordance with nature brings peace, that we can act with strength while keeping an inner stillness, and that all of this comes alive only when we practice it each day. But perhaps, if you keep only one thing from tonight, let it be this gentle reminder. So much in life lies beyond our reach, but how we respond to it always belongs to us. In that small pause between what happens and how we react lies both the freedom and the peace of a human life. Adversity will still come, as the waves still break upon the rocky shore. But now you know you can be that rock, steady, quiet, unmoved. The night has grown late, and it is time for every thought to settle. Set down the burdens of this day, the unfinished things, the mistakes, the worries. You have done enough for today. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders soften. Let your mind drift gently like a leaf upon still water. The things beyond your reach, leave them to the great current of all things. Tonight you need not solve anything. You need only rest. Thank you for spending this past hour with these ancient reflections. If they have brought you even a little peace, return whenever your mind needs to be calmed. And if you wish to join the quiet journeys ahead, you may leave a small mark of stillness by subscribing. And now let everything grow light. May you have a deep, peaceful sleep and wake tomorrow with a steadier soul. Good night.